like the world's on fire, right? Like it's on fire outside the door, but you can come in here and like none of that matters. You know, we're friends, we tell jokes, we have a good time, we play games together. I'm so proud to like, I put my money where my mouth is.
Welcome to episode 3 of Shop Local. This episode, we're going to focus on people who turned their hobby into a business. Many of the places that shape our community are businesses that started as someone's hobby, and their passion for something grew into something that made a community for other people to come and enjoy that same hobby. We speak to a gym owner who got a start in the medical industry, but his passion for weightlifting created a community that he now has a full business running. We speak to a local artist whose passion for upcycling junk and making it into art changed his life during COVID. And we speak to a business owner whose love for table games and card games turned into a place for tons of people to hang out in Bartlesville. Table games alone in the United States account for $15 billion worth of industry. Micro gyms account for $30 billion. So again, these businesses generate tons of revenue for small communities. And when they're local, most of that revenue stays local. So your hobby, your passion, when you turn it into a business, who knows how much you can affect the community around you. Speaking of passion, I want to thank today's sponsor. This is one of my favorite places each week to hang out with my friends and community. So more on them later.
My name's Jeremiah Williams. My business is Pure Health Performance, and we've been doing this for 10 years now.
My name is Josh Waddell. I'm an artist here in Bartlesville, owner of Three Bulls Upcycling, and I've been in business for about 8 years.
My name is Jeremiah Allen. I am a co-owner of Paper Games in Bartlesville, Oklahoma, and we've been open 9 years on March 1st.
Started at school, went to undergrad at Kansas State for kinesiology psych, and then went for a master's in exercise physiology. And then at that point I knew I was going to do something exercise-based in my life. Went on to chiropractic school and knew about mid-chiropractic school with the advent of open bay gyms and how those worked well with clinics and clinical studies to mesh together well, and that was so midway through chiropractic school.
Well, I've always liked making stuff, just anything, and I've always been good at taking stuff apart, but not necessarily putting it back together. So finding a way to look at stuff differently when you have all these broken bits and pieces and giving it some new life is something I've always done, even as a kid. And, it just came to pass that I was able to make some money doing it, and I've been doing it ever since.
Oh, everything we do is sort of formative. I read comics when I was a kid. I watched cartoons. Anything that sort of like spurred the imagination. I played D&D. My first game when I was 11. Same with Magic. Pretty much I started on the same day.
We started the gym originally next door to my clinic in the Eastland area. And 2 years in, we'd kind of outgrown that, and we moved to this facility here, bought this building.
It was actually through a fundraiser at the Bartlesville schools. There was an auction, and I made a piece, and somebody other than my family liked my art and bid on my art and purchased my art for a good amount of money. And so that kind of set the ball rolling. And a few years later, I was doing it full time. I got commissions right off the bat, and so it just really worked out.
Pretty much from the beginning. So there didn't used to be Amazon. There didn't used to be all these things. Like if you wanted a comic book, you had to go to a comic book shop. If you wanted D&D books, you had to go to a D&D shop. And so pretty early on, my friends and I would daydream about doing this.
When we kind of moved over, because we've got POS system now, we've got, you're paying for monthly subscriptions to different things, and you've got to manage coaches, and you've got to do payroll, and you've got to do all of those things. And it went from something that took me 2 to 3 hours a month to handle all the oversight of the gym to 10 to 12 hours a week. So it's substantially upgraded.
Yeah, you know what? It was, for me, it was during COVID. I took it as a sign upon the universe that I needed to do something different. always believed in, making a difference and helping kids. And so I took the time to be flexible and work with my own kids as they were doing some online learning stuff. But I was also able to shift focus in my career path and really focus on what I'm passionate about, which is making art and making repurposed art and upcycling out of just all kinds of random different stuff.
There was a period of time in my life when I had some resources and kind of take a chance on the jobs that I did and the work that I did. I just graduated college, and having some flexibility to do things that I wanted, I was like, let's chase a dream.
We start buying buildings and signing contracts for 6 digits and things of that nature. The risk is inherent in what you're running for. So it was, you're signing mortgages, you're putting your names on things, putting your business partners' names on things, and you're buying in your Geronimo and you're jumping off the cliff and you're going for it. And that's where the risk comes from.
Well, it was a big risk. Went from full-time employment to kind of jumping all in. I got my keys to my studio in January of 2020, and then March was COVID. And so it wasn't long thereafter that I really just was all in and was going to shows and festivals a few years later, doing commission work, and it's just kind of taken off from there.
Bartlesville has always had a game store from the very beginning. Like, there was Time Warp for a while. I worked at Gamers Guild for a while, and at some point I needed to do it my way. And I found enough really capable, qualified, really good people that had skills that I didn't have, that we could all sort of come together and do it our way.
It kind of became a reality that we don't have a sidebar gym anymore. This is kind of a real thing.
I knew because it was something I couldn't stop thinking about. I've always I was always thinking about art and making things and doing stuff and looking at it differently. And it was just one of those things where I couldn't turn it off. And so I knew it was time to go all in and really make that commitment.
Again, I'd worked at some place very similar, but I had left because of kind of differences of opinions and things. But everyone kept asking me, like, Jeremiah, when are you guys going to do this? Like, when are you going to do it your way? When are you going to, do paper games, essentially? And it just came to a point where people asked enough, and I needed a direction in my life. And again, sometimes it's just time to chase dreams, and I was ready.
I spend more time on the finances every day. I think the longer you do something, the more don't make a hobby your job, because it's no longer a hobby anymore. If you're a professional fisherman, you're fishing. It's probably not as fun to fish anymore. It is what it is. If you're a professional chef, you don't want to go home and cook food at night. You've done it all day. So when you run a gym, as someone who loves exercise and has exercised since I'm 13, it's a job now sometimes to come in and do things. I'll come in to work out and do my stuff, and I'm inundated by stuff because I'm the boss at the gym, and you were like, hey, this happened, and now when I came in to get my workout in, all of a sudden I'm 15 minutes deep and I'm just answering questions. And it's not a bad thing. It is what it is, but that's where you have to separate. You have to realize that your passion is there, but you also have a job to do, and the job will always override the passion, because it has to.
As far as that goes, I mean, it's a challenge for sure, but just really working hard and following through with stuff, and looking at different ways to get my art out there. If it's online through social media, if it's doing commission stuff, selling at different places, shows, festivals, all those different things. I found that there's not one real way that I can just say, this is how I'm going to sell my art. So I try to do all these number of different things, which I enjoy doing as well, and making a different type of art, so making art that will sell, but also that really I enjoy to make. And so that's usually where it takes off.
Oh, so that's tough. Because if I wanted to keep everything that walked through the door, I would go out of business tomorrow. We see cool comics, we see cool cards, and every time I sort of salivate a little bit, like, oh boy, this would be super cool. But we're a business, and you have to just sort of divorce yourself from the idea that you're going to have these cool things. You get to look at them, appreciate them for a very little bit of time, and then you just let them go.
Day to day, it's a lot of stuff where you have to deal with people and deal with things. And I say that is not a bad thing, because you're going to have complaints, you're going to have compliments, you're going to have everything in between. But as a whole, you've got to be intelligent on how you deal with things and not accept good is the enemy of great. You can't think that you're doing everything perfectly. So when someone says something that you should change, don't dismiss it immediately. A lot of times you can, because you're running a business and everybody thinks they know how to run a business until they try and run a business, and then it doesn't work out so well. But if someone gives you advice, don't dismiss it immediately and think, oh, you don't know what you're talking about. Realize that you can always do better and strive for doing better, because that's key to getting better at business.
The day-to-day reality is sometimes, for example, people say, well, I could do that. And my response is, you could do this. But in addition to the time that it takes to learn how to do this, which I love teaching people how to do, it's also a lot of time that's involved with going to thrift stores, estate sales, and people have been so generous with me in donating things that I'll take apart and use for other parts and pieces and things like that.
Oh, that it's a business. Most people are like, oh yeah, you read comic books and like you just get to hang out with your friends. It's like, well, on the surface, yeah, you could probably take that away. I have an excellent job, a dream job. But like at the end of the day, there are numbers and there's a lot of them, and there are taxes and there's a lot of them. And if you don't run a good business, you're not going to get to hang out with your friends or read comic books all day for a living.
I want to take just a moment to thank today's sponsor of this video, Lollipops Wood Fire and Grocery. Now the pizza's fantastic, the atmosphere is fantastic, the pasta, the salads. I can't say how much I love this place. I'm probably there once a week at least. But one of my favorite things is the community aspect of using the front of the store to be a local grocery for local producers. You've got local produce, you've got candy, you've got new vendors coming in all the time. So it's always a great place to check out what's happening in the front of the store. So if you've not been to Lollipops, I highly recommend it. Thursdays, by the way, might be the best day to go check it out, because you can get 2 pizzas and then the third one is free. Deals there every day. Always great to check it out. And if you can remember, say Josh sent you if you saw it through this video. So back to the video.
I'm most proud about what I do, not in, we've got national champions, we've got world champions, we've got competitions we do. I'm a competitive CrossFitter. I've done the competitions where you place consistently high level. Just the general people that come to the gym who want to get better at things that they've done, who are struggling with knee pain, who are struggling with playing with their grandkids or playing with their kids, walking upstairs and getting tired. And then they do this, and a year later, they're a completely different person by just giving up an hour, really an hour a day, 5 days a week or 4 days a week. And now they're doing things that their friends say that you do this enough and you do these workouts enough that you look at them in a different way. Whereas you initially look at it in your first month of doing this and say, there's no way in hell I could ever do anything like that. And then 6 months later, you're doing it without even thinking about it. And a year later, you're adding more to it because you get better and better, and the human body is an amazing machine. So watching just general people get better at life is always one of the most exciting things that I deal with.
For me, it's when someone will see a piece of my art and they recognize a piece from their childhood. Like, my family used to have that. My grandmother had that same old camera when I was a kid, and it was on the shelf or something like that. When I do something that invokes an emotion, a positive emotion, is meaningful for someone, for me, that's really what it's all about.
I'm proud of paper games all the time. I always preach to everybody that community matters, third spaces matter, and, I'll walk in and we'll have 30, 40, 50 people in the store all day long, almost every day of the week. And to be able to be a place that people can go, the world's on fire, right? It's on fire outside the door, but you can come in here and none of that matters. We're friends. we tell jokes, we have a good time, we play games together. I'm so proud to, like, I put my money where my mouth is, like, that we get to do this for everybody as well.
Piece of advice for small business is ask other small business people for help. Small business people love talking about their business. It's their business. You're not in it alone. I learned through a lot of school of hard knocks. I went to school to become a doctor. I come out and I start a business, and it's like, wow, I wish I would have learned more about business. But people are so willing to help in the small business world. I've taken people out to lunch and dinner who are starting small businesses to walk them through the everyday nitty-gritty stuff that you need to do. People don't know about starting LLCs, about taxes, about payroll, about different things like that, and I don't even know everything about it, but there's always more stuff you can do, and it's such an overwhelming experience starting a business because you have a vision, you have a dream, but you don't know the little things you got to do before you open to make sure that it's done right. You got to deal with city issues. You got to deal with, there's just so many things to it that you don't realize until you're in the middle of it. And asking someone who's done it before is the best way to learn from it. And most business people are super happy to help out.
I would say talk to people that have done it before, for sure. They can always be helpful and give you some advice and suggestions, but also at the same time, just keep working, keep that drive going, and eventually, hopefully, you'll find success.
Don't. No, that's not true. You have to just realize it's a business. And if there's, you have to realize what it takes. And if you don't have what it takes, you find friends who do, you find business partners who do. That's what I did. Like, my business partners are carpenters, and they do numbers and internet stuff. And I don't. I have an English degree. I don't do any of that stuff. But I found people who could help me, like, make the full process, like, all together.